Running up the score.
Jerry Napoleonello.
The Cowboys made 2 mistakes in the last 3 years. One was letting Dak take over for Romo and not having Romo come back in. And 2 was releasing Des Bryant.
Superstition, screw that. Let's pick this bad boy up and walk it around the ice.
Kevin Donlin.
The NFL, like every league, is a business. And in a business, you have a job. And let me tell you something. You always have a boss. No matter who you are, you have a boss when you're in the organization. The New York Jets, you know what they need to do with their second round pick? They need to just start taking it and lighting it up on fire.
This is Running Up the Score, your one-stop spot for all things sports. Join in on the conversation by calling in at 605-562-7085. Now here's your hosts, Jerry Napoleonello and Kevin Donlin.
All right, we are back. Running Up the Score, it's been a while. It's been a very, very long time.
It has been an extensive period of time.
Yeah, let me tell you, real life sucks. We've had, different scheduling issues with work, and, I've been working in Jersey, so I've been going back and forth, and it's just, travel has sucked. And, this guy thinks he's, 25 again. So,
just in my head. That's
all. So basically what we want to get into, is a lot of stuff today. But first, I want to discuss a few things before we even, get into, the sports aspect of the show. I want to talk about, first off, if you're in the New York area, New York Touch Football. If you have a team, if you don't have a team, join the league. You can join as a free agent if you don't have a team. If you have a team, it's a very competitive league. It's an awesome league. I've been playing in it for seven years, I think, now. It's all about contact. Nobody wants to play flag football. Come on. Flag football's for sissies.
25 years old, huh?
Yeah,
I'm not 25, so I can't play it.
I'm not 25 either. So, but overall, it's a great league. Join it. Season starts around September, and I'm trying to work out a deal for everybody to get a discount on jerseys and stuff like that for new teams and things like that. 100-yard field, 6-on-6, full contact, 3-man line. 4 can rush if you want. There's no Mississippi. There's no one-man rush. There's none of that. It's real football. Check it out. Go to NewYorkTouchFootball.com. You can also email nytflmedia@gmail.com, and you can email NewYorkTouchFootball@gmail.com for any information. But moving on. Now we're going on to Running Up the Score. Go to SeatGiant.com, type in RUTS Sports, save on tickets. Also, we just started coming out with a, Running Up the Score clothing line. And there's a bunch of designs. They're just flowing. They're flowing in my head, and I'm putting them on paper. Now I'm putting them on T-shirts. So go out, get those. The link is on our Instagram at RUTS Sports. You can go to our website as well, but mainly on our Instagram, you can find that there. So now we can move on. So as we said, we're back. It's been 3 weeks?
Yeah,
almost a month, if not a month.
The first show in June.
Yeah. So basically, we'll get right into it because we got the Stanley Cup going on right now. We got the NBA Finals going on right now. The MLB is in full swing. NFL is starting to ramp up a little bit. You're starting to get some OTAs in and stuff like that, voluntary workouts and this and that. And what better way to start this No, not the Stanley Cup. No, not the NBA Finals. How about Odell Beckham?
Yeah, it's a good way to start.
Right?
Obviously, when you see the turmoil already developing in Cleveland from the recent reports from Freddie Kitchens, who is the head coach of the Cleveland Browns, for those of you who don't know, rookie head coach nonetheless, and he's coming right out into the media and voicing his displeasure with Odell Beckham Jr. Now, when you see stories like this developing in the offseason, just based off voluntary workouts, that's what these are. That's what it's been in the NFL. All these workouts, all these practices have all been voluntary. And you're supposed to be there at some degree. I mean, these guys do make millions of dollars, and, there's no pads. It's not like there's heavy hitting going on. You're not getting hurt by doing these workouts. It does nothing but benefit you. It brings the team closer together. Now, Odell Beckham Jr. has been in that locker room for about 3 or 4 months now, technically. And for your coach to already be voicing displeasure throughout the media, then what can only imagine what's happening behind closed doors? It's just like any kind of, basically like everyday life, if you see two people arguing, publicly out in like a restaurant or something, like a couple or something, it makes you only imagine what's happening behind closed doors. And that's exactly what's going on with the Cleveland Browns. And Freddie Kitchens is clearly very, very upset over the matters of this man going to the first workout and not reporting to the other 9.
Well, with this is like you have to look at it. First of all, Freddie Kitchens, as you said, is a rookie head coach. And
it just shows.
It's his first.
You should not be going to the media no matter what kind of displeasure. You go to the player.
It's his first
Especially a
job.
Star player.
It's his first job, and this is the guy that he's handed. Now, don't get me wrong, talent-wise is unbelievable, but everything else, that's like the nightmare player that you want to have your first team with. Like, and with the rest of it. Him not showing up. Now, on Odell's side, it's like, why are you doing this? This is you don't know the offense. This is you just got traded to this team. You know nothing about this team. This is where you would want to first off show off to the other players that you're ready. You're here, ready to play for this team.
That you make more money than.
Exactly, and it's like. You have to be a part of this team. I understand if you're a 11-year vet, you've been on the team for all 11 years. Yeah, then you have guys like Michael Strahan that used to do it. Sit out, not show up, work out on his own, and then show up later for the preseason games. But first of all, none of these players love these OTAs. Nobody does. Nobody does. Nobody likes the training camp. Nobody likes preseason games. But you got to do it. That's practice. It's practice.
Yeah. I'm able to tell about the Cleveland Browns that they're going to be one of the trickiest teams in the NFL this season on the basis of this. And there's no doubt that this team is a multiple-digit win kind
Absolutely.
of talent team. They on both sides of the ball, they really are a very talented team. They should win double digits this season. But if you go to Vegas and you go to see the under-over in the amount of wins for the Cleveland Browns this season, it's at 9. That just shows that Vegas understands that to some degree this team could implode. And it's not because of injuries or, maybe just losing tough ones, losing close games, stuff like that. What's going to happen when someone who has the mouth of Baker Mayfield isn't throwing the ball to someone who has the mouth of not only Odell Beckham Jr., but Jarvis Landry? All it takes is this team to stop winning one game. That's it, right off the bat. And this team will be in shambles. Now, right now, the key for the Cleveland Browns is to win and to keep winning, because that's how you get the questions from the media backed off. Questions like, what went wrong out there? Why wasn't Odell more involved? I mean, when Baker Mayfield gets asked questions, why wasn't Odell Beckham more involved? It'll be interesting to hear the answer to that. And unfortunately for Cleveland, there's just too many. I don't know how to really
loose cannons.
Different. I guess the best way to put different personalities.
Yeah.
And it's tough to coach that, especially you have a rookie head coach trying to put that all together. And his first step to putting it all together is to see his own players.
Yeah.
And he said he just wants to see Odell Beckham Jr. and be able to interact with him and discuss about what they're trying to do this year. It goes right back to, can this guy get it all together in a rookie, in his rookie season as a head coach? And just from the early standpoint, and we're not even in training camp yet, and you have negative things to say about your players to the media, the Cleveland media. So if it gets all the way back to New York, and clearly it's a huge story right off the bat, and now you have your team being spoken about in the media negatively. And the season hasn't even started yet. And the only way to brush all this off, and like I said, when you see all these guys on ESPN and everybody else, talking about this kind of stuff, this will all be forgotten if the Cleveland Browns start winning football games come September.
Absolutely.
But if they start losing, that's when these off-season issues continue, and they will come right back to haunt the Cleveland Browns. So what I see from the Cleveland Browns early on, and that these aren't even mandatory practices yet, they're in shambles already. This guy does not know how to handle the multiple personalities of his locker room. We haven't even heard Jarvis Landry. I bet you every Cleveland fan is thank God that hasn't even started yet itself, because he's a whole other work.
Yeah.
So, and then you're going to have to try to get the ball to both of these players. It didn't make sense, Cleveland making this trade. And I'll be honest, I know you hate the New York Giants more than anyone, but the New York Giants were able to find a way to have better safeties than they did last year with an extra draft pick. And I can't remember the last time I've ever seen a star wide receiver be the vocal point in winning a Super Bowl. Randy Moss. Randy Moss, you couldn't be better than Randy Moss. Nobody could be better than Randy Moss.
Listen, I said from the jump that the Giants had to get rid of Odell if they wanted to take the next step. And
I'm just saying, you hear all this criticism about David Gettleman and what they did with Odell Beckham Jr. And everyone's criticizing what they're doing over there, but I've seen nothing but better things for the New York Giants. I see a better offensive line. I see a surprise decent season. I think their defense will have trouble. The safeties are better, don't get me wrong, but the linebackers are going to be, in the pass rush just in general is going to be a problem for the New York Giants. But their offensive line is developed. Eli Manning is going to have a good year. People think Eli Manning's finished. He's not. His offensive line was finished for a very long time. But now when you have a running back like Saquon Barkley, it takes a lot of the pressure off your quarterback, and we're talking game management at that point. Obviously, the management's going to be extensive on the basis that they're going to have to score a lot of points. But the New York Giants made strides getting rid of guys like, Odell Beckham Jr. and Landon Collins and just these voices in the locker room. I mean, Landon Collins took I don't even think he skipped a beat.
It was like the day of this whole Odell Beckham.
Of course, to talk. And honestly, now you look at what Freddie Kitchens is doing, and everyone thinks Landon Collins' statements were a negative impact on the New York Giants. It seems like they were absolutely correct about Odell Beckham Jr. and the attitude he brings in to the locker room, as opposed to, and again, I even see it as a New York Jet fan with Adam Gase. You want the right personalities in the locker room. You want the guys that love the game of football, that want to be there every day, that show up to every single voluntary camp because they want to get better. They want to win a Super Bowl. They want to make money. Now, Odell Beckham Jr., you made your money already, and you've proven the point on the kind of personality you have. You made a lot of money. You got a lot of guys on that roster that don't make as much money as you, and you're not even leading by example. So, Cleveland, good luck with that. Again, one-handed catches for days. I hope you do it forever, Odell. You're very talented, like he said. There's no questioning it, but the personality just does not fit any kind of locker room right now, and it really just falls on him, and he needs to look in the mirror at that point.
That's what's funny is because everybody's like, oh, well, he makes one-handed catches. It's like every single NFL player out there can catch a ball with one hand.
Well, there's no doubt that he's got a lot of talent. The route
running,
everything.
Don't get me wrong.
He's an amazing player. He's fast.
He's an amazing talent, and I can say it now because he's not on the Giants anymore. He's an amazing talent. Top 5 wide receiver in the league. But, it's just like, it's kind of like a good-looking person. Like, yeah, you could be a good-looking person, but if you have a crappy personality and you're just a crappy person overall, it doesn't really matter.
Of course.
It doesn't really matter. So, moving on to another portion of, the NFL, we've had some news in Big D. Dallas Cowboys, Ezekiel Elliott pushes down a security guard.
No.
Obviously, you could tell he is totally wasted when this happens. Do I think it's egregious or just a terrible thing that he did and he did it so hard, this and that? No. I think it was just he was drunk. He got close to the guy. He kind of, tried to chest bump him kind of thing. And the guy just wasn't in the right, stance, I guess. And he just tumbled over. With this kid coming out and saying that he needs a formal apology and this and that, otherwise he's going to get sued. That's a joke. That's a joke. And, I mean, overall, listen, I get it. Ezekiel Elliott shouldn't be putting himself in these kind of situations, and I am the first one to say that. But it's also really, that's what we're gonna make a big deal about.
Well, it's a new world that we live in, Jerry. I mean, people are suing for everything. Just on my day-to-day life, I see everything and how people are going out there and throwing out that word a lot for every aspect of life. And again, it goes right back to the sensitivity of the of everybody. But it's not
everybody being soft.
Well, just the country in general, and it's the way the world is changing. And I have come to agreement with it. There's no doubt, and it's understandable, I guess. Obviously, no one should be acting like that. No one should be putting their hands on another human being at that point. We need to all be civilized to some degree at some point. And obviously, say what you want about Elliott and putting himself in these situations, but there's no reason to put your hands on anybody. And if you can't do it when you're I'm about to say when you're hammered, because it's true. Clearly he was hammered and really, really drunk. Then you need to not drink. You got to know who you are. You got to remember that you are a role model now. When you become a professional athlete, you make a lot of money. There's no doubt. You live a nice lifestyle, but you also become a role model.
It's not also, yes, you're a role model now, but it's also you're a target.
Well, yeah, of course, you're famous. It's the same thing with Odell Beckham Jr. It is the same exact thing. You are a famous player. You make a lot of money in the NFL. You're one of the key names that if you go up to the most average fan of the NFL,
they know who you are.
And you ask them to name 5 players in the NFL, they'll probably name those 2 names, Odell Beckham Jr. and Ezekiel Elliott. And these players got to realize that, you're right. You do have a target, but you got to know how to act.
Yeah.
You just need to know how to act.
But that's what I'm saying.
That's something that you learn from your, as a child.
You're a target.
When you're 25 years old, 30 years old, acting like this on both ends of these players.
Absolutely.
It just shows the lack of, the lack of maturity coming from these 2 players.
That's the thing. It's you're a target, first of all. But also, when you put yourself in these situations, you're an even bigger target because now people just see money signs. That's all it see. That's all they see. This kid, if anybody else would have pushed him over, first of all, he probably wouldn't have been in handcuffs, and second of all, it would have been brushed over. But because it's Ezekiel Elliott, he's on.
I just find that hard to believe. And you're right. The sue card, I think, is where you're right on that. But anyone, there's never a reason in this world at this point to ever be putting your hands on someone else.
And
it's called an assault. And honestly, legitimately, that's called being civilized. It all goes right back to that.
Technically, he didn't put his hands on him. Technically.
He put his shoulder into him.
Yeah, he just kind of had his hands behind his back, and he kind of just nudged him. But, not to the point where...
I can clearly see you trying to defend him. There's no defending this. There's just literally no defending this. You're right. The cameras are on him 24/7. You need to know that.
I understand that, and I'm the first one to say this is not a situation that he should be putting himself into, especially with his past. everything that's happened the last 2 or 3 years, it's like, come on, dude. Like, you got to be a little bit smarter than that. There's been plenty of videos that he's out at a club popping bottles, this and that.
There's nothing wrong with having fun. I'm not saying not have fun.
I don't have a problem with that. I don't have a problem with that. It's just,
but be civilized.
You gotta, like, you know, you can tell that he's a little bit of a loose cannon. He's a little bit of a loose cannon, especially when he gets a little bit of alcohol in him. And you know, that's a scary thing, especially.
Get off it.
And like that's the thing. Like, why are you putting yourself in this situation, especially when there's talks about you getting the highest paid running back contract?
That's nonsense.
You're a Dallas Cowboy. You got to do it. You're a Dallas Cowboy. You know, and then there's also the other side of it. Like, you know what?
You may
Ezekiel
Elliott
you may not even get a contract.
Van Der Esch just unsigned.
Well, Van Der Esch you still have for like 5 years before you have to, you know, because he's.
And how long do you think you're paying Elliott for?
He's still on his rookie contract.
And it's not 5 years, but how long do you think you're paying Elliott for?
What, 3 or 4?
$20 million a year. I mean, I'm a New York Jet fan. We pay our running back more than anyone else in the NFL right now, and. You know, I'm not the biggest fan of it.
No, I'm not the biggest fan of it, but if you're going to give Dak the contract that you're going to give him, you have to give him you have to give Zeke a big contract because Zeke.
But you don't get why because you're not acting. You're not acting this way at all off the field to deserve that money.
I understand that, but he is the reason the Dallas Cowboys have been relevant the last.
No, he's not. Your offensive line. I mean, you're one of these that are not understanding the trenches in the football. Like, that is a huge deal.
I understand that. And
Elliott is not the reason.
Don't get me wrong. I love our offensive line. I love our defensive line now. But it also comes down to...
Those are the ones that get paid.
But it comes down to, you know, if Ezekiel Elliott is not there, they're not at that... They're not a top team in the NFC. Because
they're not a top team in the NFC right now either way with Dak Prescott. Garbage. I can't wait to play you this season. I can't wait to play the Dallas Cowboys. I don't know. You want to go?
Well, I mean, I've been talking to a couple of the guys. Like
I don't know if you're going to want to go to that game with me, man.
One of the guys that I work with is a Dallas Cowboys fan. Another guy that I've worked with is a Dallas Cowboys fan. I'm trying to get something set up. Maybe we could get a running up the score kind of...
live feed.
Well, like, you know, just kind of like a running up the score invasion, you know, like, and kind of get everybody, you know, get like T-shirts made up and have everybody, like, you know, head to the game, get a whole crew.
Yeah.
You know, especially that the Cowboys coming into town twice.
Look at you just realizing this on air.
I did.
And just really getting into it.
I did.
Let's get back to what we were talking about, about how Ezekiel Elliott is not going to be deserving of this money if he continues to get himself into trouble.
I understand that. But he is the Dallas Cowboys right now. He is. Because you could see when he got suspended.
Sorry, I was about to say Dak Prescott is, but I started laughing mid-sentence.
Well, listen, I laughed too. I mean, that's the fact that we got to give him a huge contract is nauseating to me.
It makes me wonder if you're going to sign Prescott, you're going to sign Elliott. Like, there are more important players on your roster that make the Dallas Cowboys.
Well, you got to pay Jalen Smith. I think next year. That's got to happen. Yep. Van Der Esch is probably going to get paid in the next 2 or 3 years.
These are guys
you just paid DeMarcus Lawrence, which had to be
done because he's a dominant pass rusher. You have to do it because these are the guys that make differences.
Yeah.
Now, don't get me wrong. I think Elliott. You're right. Elliott does make a difference for the Cowboys. He's a very talented player. But when you act like this off the field, and you know, obviously his best season was his rookie season.
Yeah, but he led the league in rushing last year too.
He was very good last year.
It's like, you know, he's been in the league 3 years. He's led the league 2 years out of that, and the other year that he didn't lead was in the top 5, and he missed 6 games.
I'll tell you right now, I would not be, as a Dallas Cowboys front office, I wouldn't completely ignore the fact of trying to trade this man. I wouldn't. I know it sounds crazy. But you can get a lot of value. You can get a lot of value for the guy. You can get another running back. Ask Andy Reid about finding a running back. I never heard of Damian Williams a day in my life. Okay? Kareem Hunt. Never heard of him a day in my life. This guy creates products.
Yeah.
And productive. And it's all in the system. And it all comes back to the head coach. I really think that Garrett needs to go for you guys. I think
100%.
It's been 100%, no doubt.
100%.
Nonsense going on between. He must know something about Jerry Jones because I'm confused.
He's got blackmail.
I'm confused as to why he's had a job for a very long time. And you know what? They might be very close. They might be good friends. Good friends like this.
What it is?
I understand.
You know what it is? Jerry Jones loves the puppet. He loves playing the puppet. And you know what? Jason Garrett's the puppet. It's whatever Jerry Jones says, that's what's going to happen. That's why Jimmy Johnson and Jerry Jones didn't mesh well because Jimmy Johnson wanted things done his own way. It's the same thing with Bill Parcells. The fact that he even hired Bill Parcells was amazing because, Bill Parcells is a
himself attitude.
Yeah,
and
like
he believes in what's going to lead to winning
my
football.
way or no way.
Yep,
and that's Bill Parcells, and he's always been like that.
Well, that's Jerry Jones too.
Exactly, and that's why I was surprised that it even happened and it lasted as long as it did. But I mean, you could see what Bill Parcells did for this team. I mean, it was like he built that team the way it was. He signs Tony Romo. Nobody even knew who he was. He drafted Jason Witten, drafted DeMarcus Ware. These guys, Brady James, guys like that kind of carried the team as long as they did in the, early 2000s. He kind of set the tone. And now you're seeing with the Cowboys the drafting that they've been doing, which they had another good draft. I think that was actually our last show, was our draft show.
Well, absolutely.
So they've had great drafts for the last 5 years.
Well, we go into this about Jerry Jones. Obviously, he's the owner. He's not the GM.
Well, technically, he is the GM.
Yeah, I figured, and
yeah,
it brings me to my point.
It
brings me to my point with the New York Jets because we weren't able to talk about this at all.
Yeah,
and the New York Jets obviously fired their GM Maccagnan, and a lot of people had critiqued it. I had mentioned on this show a long time ago that it makes no sense to fire your head coach, keep your GM, and then eventually fire your GM as well. I mean, they both need to go at the same time.
They should have went at the same time.
And it's just on this logic alone. And this is what every fan's out there saying, and reasons why they could be laughing at the New York Jets. And it's understandable, talking about them being a clown of an organization at times. I'm a Jet fan. I just call them a clown of an organization because what they did in this situation was a disgrace. Now, you have to remember, when you're a GM, you hire a head coach. Now, when you fire your GM and you have a new head coach, now you're basically going up to Adam Gase at this point going, who are you friends with right now in the NFL?
Well,
that could be your boss, that you could work well together, because right now, whoever the GM's going to be, that's your head coach, whether you like it or not. And it could really take down a lot of potential, possibilities for the job, and a lot of good ones. So what the New York Jets did here was absolutely an utter disgrace. I had mentioned months ago that they should have traded their GM. They should have, fired their GM as well as their head coach. Bring in a new GM. Let that GM hire the head coach of their choice. And I'll be honest, I'm one of those. I completely agree with Adam Gase in this situation. People don't know the extended, exactly what had happened in the New York Jets draft. Apparently, Maccagnan didn't really take too much of input from his head coach, his newly acquired head coach, Adam Gase, which is an issue. He's your head coach of the football team. He is the most important, he's got the most important job in this entire organization right now. More important than the GM's job.
Yeah.
Getting this team together to win football games. And it was like Adam Gase had said when he first was hired. New York Jet fans will not care about any kind of turmoil or any kind of this nonsense if we win games. It goes right back to what I said about the Cleveland Browns. All this off-season nonsense will disappear if they start winning games. So with the New York Jets right now and the hiring of their new GM, me personally don't care who it is at this point. You got to live and die by Adam Gase. I like the kind of attitudes he's brought into the locker room. he's got a certain mindset of what he wants his players to have. I mean, obviously there was issues with Landry and Adam Gase, and that's because Landry just has a above everybody else mentality. And I mean, there's different ways to go about it. Jamal Adams has a above everybody else mentality but you see the difference that I'm talking about here. Mm-hmm. That it's not him above. Of course, it's going to be him above everybody else. Everybody on the world thinks like that. They think themselves over everybody else. That's what Absolutely. You're supposed to do as a human being on this world. So when I see a player acting the way that Jarvis Landry does and Jamal Adams acting, is a big difference there. Jamal Adams, not only does he think himself above everybody else, but he's a humongous team player. A big-time team player, voices it out there, and he makes the guys around him better. He doesn't make the guys around him feel uneasy, which is what I've seen Landry do before. And those are not the attitudes you want in the locker room. You want the attitudes like Jamal Adams. You want the attitudes, like Sam Darnold. Guys that are just trying to make themselves better, make the people around them better, find a way to win games. And that's what I like about the New York Jets this season. I would not be surprised if the New York Jets had a very successful season. It might not start well. They have a brutal start to the schedule, but they really do have a good team, a good foundation there. I really love what they've been able to do the last 2 years. The last 2 years have been, there's no other word to put, but atrocious. And this season, for me personally as a New York Jet fan, is very exciting on the standpoint of being a Jet fan and just being able to watch a team and looking for them to win games and not root for them to lose, which is what we've been doing the last 2 years at this point, looking for for that one day in the middle of April. Yeah. Looking forward to that day in the draft.
Like you were saying, the right way of doing it is, first off, firing your GM first. Also firing your GM before the draft. Because now you're getting to a point where, Maccagnan went through the draft, drafted who he wanted to draft, and then got fired a week or two later. Mm-hmm. So it kind of just throws off the pyramid status in the Jets organization. It's like, all right, well, this is Adam Gase's guys. This GM, you might bring in, like you were saying, you bring in a GM now, they have to like your head coach. Mm-hmm. So that's the problem. That's the problem where what you get into with that. So, listen, I like what the Jets have been doing. Player-wise, I think, they got a very solid team that, could fight for the division. The Patriots are still the Patriots, so it's going to be tough. Yeah. But I think they're the second best team in the division. I've always said that I've liked Sam Darnold since he was drafted, and I think the Giants should have did it. And I'm just happy that they didn't.
Me too.
I'm just happy that they didn't. So, they got Daniel Jones now.
I'll be honest. With that draft pick, it was really, really, really shocking. It was shocking. Yeah. No, it was shocking seeing Daniel Jones being drafted.
Oh, yeah.
As opposed to Josh Allen, and people want to critique that nonstop since the draft has ended.
I wish we came on after. We got to see the draft pick while we were on the air, but I would have loved to critique it 2 days later or whatever it was going to be. I would have loved to, because we would have just listened to callers from all over New York radio, and I would have had them all recorded and put them on the show, and we just would have laughed.
You get a lot of guys that will get frustrated and just lash out and don't know the facts behind it. I mean, I had spoken to you on the night of the draft, and I had explained to you that, playing for Duke University, you're not. Folks, if you want to call this show right now and name to me every single NFL player that went to Duke University, then I'm ready to hear it. I mean, call up whenever. I will legitimately, I'll be wide open to hearing it. There's not a lot of talent that goes to Duke, and part of that non-talent that goes to Duke is your offensive line. They don't get 5-star recruits like Haskins gets in Ohio State.
No.
People need to make that understanding that you can only do as much as you can work with the people around you. Football is a team game, whether you like it or not. Yeah, of course you need a great quarterback or you need a good quarterback, but you need a lot of talent. Like I had just spoken with you 2 minutes ago about the Dallas Cowboys. Yeah, you want to sign the big-time quarterback. You want to sign the big-time running backs, these big-time star players, Odell Beckham Jr. and Jarvis Landry and, I said Odell already, Ezekiel Elliott, all these big-time names. They don't mean nothing without the trenches in the NFL. They never will. And the one thing I'll even say that I'm upset about with the New York Jets is that I thought their offensive line could have taken one more step of an upgrade. But they weren't able to do that just yet. Why I think they'll be a mediocre team and not a great team. I hope they're great. I hope Sam Darnold is great with a mediocre offensive line. But if I saw Sam Darnold this season not have the best season, you'll see the media outlets all day long talk about, oh, he had a setback or he's not as good as everyone thought. And I'll be honest, these are going to go right over my head. They should go over everybody's head. Even the average fan that lashes out on the internet and lashes out on those radio shows, those talk shows, because these gentlemen don't know what they're talking about if they're going to sit there and say that Sam Darnold had a okay season on the basis that his offensive line did not produce. It's the same people that nonstop had nothing but negative things to say about the two-time Super Bowl winning quarterback, Eli Manning. And every Giant fan, even last year, wanted Eli Manning out. After we had a whole debate here about when Geno Smith went in, I thought the entire Giants fan base was going to go in chaos. And I understood where they were coming at. But at the same time, you really, as the head coach of that situation, he really had no choice. But everyone knew, every Giant fan knew the reason as to why Eli Manning wasn't successful. It wasn't Odell. It wasn't whoever was in the backfield for them. It was who was blocking for him. Guys, there's so much that an offensive line can do for a football team. It's incredible. And we're talking just making holes, getting a push, giving time. You need time in this league to make plays.
Yeah.
You can't defend if the other team has time. You just can't. You could be the best cornerback in the world. Nobody can defend a wide receiver, an NFL caliber wide receiver, any wide receiver, not Odell, any wide receiver with speed. It is very difficult to sit there and try to defend that with an extended period of time when a quarterback has that much time.
All right, well, we're going to take a break quick. When we get back, we're going to talk some, Stanley Cup, NBA Finals, and, some baseball talk. When we get back, you're listening to Running Up the Score.
All Noise Radio. Powered by the Connecticut School of Broadcasting. All Noise Radio is an internet radio station that's fully produced by graduates of the Connecticut School of Broadcasting. From modern rock to old school hip hop, country to classical, news, talk, sports, and more. It's the noise you can't ignore. Log on to allnoiseradio.com. Fire up the station. Find out more about your favorite jocks. Get the latest CSB news and more. Plus, you can take All Noise Radio with you on the go for free. Just download the Live 365 app to your iPhone, iPod Touch, or BlackBerry and search All Noise Radio. Check out tomorrow's broadcasters today at allnoiseradio.com. Powered by the Connecticut School of Broadcasting.
Hey, this is Jerry Napoleonello, host of Running Up the Score. We are live once every week at 7 p.m. Eastern, where we hit on all the top headlines in the world of sports. You can also find us on Stitcher, iTunes, and those of you that like the visual aspect, check us out on YouTube. Running Up the Score. We run up the score on Sports Radio.
Cyberstation USA is the future of radio. Get your business into the online future at the world's largest internet radio station. From banner placement on our homepage to any of our broadcaster stages, commercials on our video player, audio spots on any of our shows, or at the beginning of any of our on-demand broadcasts. Cyberstation USA offers competitive rates with a worldwide reach, a fully integrated one-stop shop social media broadcast platform. For more information, please contact our sales department at cameo@cyberstationusa.com.
Hello there, it's Kevin Dallin, host of Running Up the Score. Our brand new Running Up the Score podcast for Sportscaster is live every Tuesday and Thursday night. We'll tackle great debates, headlines, and breaking news in the world of sports. Be sure to tune in every week. You won't want to miss it. Subscribe to us on iTunes and YouTube, and follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and Sportscaster at RUTS Sports. We run up the score on Sports Radio.
Take my horse through the old town road. I'm gonna ride till I can't no more.
I got the horses in the bag, horse stock is attached. Head is mad.
This This is Running Up the Score, your one-stop spot for all things sports. Join in on the conversation by calling in at 605-562-7085. Now here's your hosts, Jerry Napoleonello and Kevin Donlin.
All right, we are back. SeatGiant.com. Type in RUTS Sports. Save on tickets to anything you would like. So we'll get right into it. Stanley Cup Finals. Tied 1-1. Blues and the Bruins. We haven't really gotten to be able to talk about like everything past the Islanders series, really, because we were very we were heartbroken. But altogether, I think the Bruins are definitely they're definitely a tough team, and that was the one team that we've said from day one. That was the one team that we did not want to play with the Islanders. So they're just showing the veteran type of play. Tuukka Rask has been unbelievable throughout the whole rest of the playoffs. Overall, Zdeno Chara mainly missed like 5 games or something like that, and they're still, playing the way they were. And then the Blues, I mean, we've been talking about the Blues since day one. Binnington has been unbelievable. And we've been playing Gloria a lot. So I'm hoping that we play Gloria all the way up to the time that the trophy is, the Stanley Cup is actually being held up, because God, I can't have the Bruins win a Stanley Cup. With the Red Sox winning the World Series last year, the Patriots just do whatever the hell they want to do, and we can't have Boston win another one. We can't.
Well, at that standpoint, it's basically irrelevant for me. I mean, I think it's Boston obviously has had a lot of success in sports, and you really can't argue it.
No, you can't.
They know what they're doing there. And when it comes to this series overall, though, I've seen the Boston Bruins, and they just play an incredible style of hockey, and so do the St. Louis Blues. Both these teams play an incredible amount of defense. Now, you talk about the Tampa Bay Lightning teams and the Washington Capitals, the Pittsburgh Penguins. These guys could score goals beyond belief. They put the puck in the back of the net at all times when they take on teams that just don't have the defensive caliber. It's one thing I've liked about the New York Islanders all season is the way they were able to play defense. And because look what happens when you play defense in the National Hockey League. Look at the two teams you're staring at right now in the Stanley Cup Finals. Both these teams play defense. The Blues have been playing defense for years. I mean, from before I can even remember. You can thank Pietrangelo for that, and even, Shattenkirk before he went to the New York Rangers. I mean, these guys knew how to play defense. Shattenkirk had a terrible season, so there's no reason to that. I mean, the Ranger fans are going for that because he wasn't able to play that well this year. But the Blues, and it all goes back to the coaching. And you could talk about Binnington just being unbelievable, and he is a great goalie. There's no taking credit from that man right now. But when it comes down to the Blues and the Bruins and what you see, you're seeing the caliber of players that just know how to sit there and stay at home, not cheat. That's how you score goals in the NHL. You'll find a way to cheat, get that breakaway, get that goal, and everyone's happy. But if you get caught cheating in the NHL, you're going to pay for it a lot. And I've seen it so many times. And with these two teams right now, that's what makes this series so great. And they were going back and forth in both games so far. I mean, well, obviously, Boston took care of them in the game, but the second game was just a lot more what we were expecting. And obviously now it goes into the favor of
St.
Louis. And, both these teams are going to play defense. There's no doubt about it. There's really not much analysis to go into this series because I personally can't tell you who's going to win.
Yeah.
I have no idea. That's what makes hockey so great. I've talked about this on my show so many times about how what makes hockey great is that I could tell you who's going to win the NBA Finals. I could tell you who's going to win the World Series on a list of 5 teams, And, for all these leagues, there's 5 teams. I could not name you 5 teams from the National Hockey League. And if I were to tell the average fan to call this show up, even right before the playoffs, about who they thought was going to win the Cup. None of you would have gotten it correct. Nobody thought the Bruins. Nobody thought the Blues. Nobody even thought the Islanders would get past round one. Nobody thought the Lightning would even get in their way. 90% of the people had told me the Tampa Bay Lightning were going to win it all. And that's understandable to say that. I mean, after the season they had. So, but it just shows you that hockey is just a different caliber of sport. And, of course, these games definitely these series need to be 7 games on the basis of what we saw, all throughout this. And, like I talk about, we're going to transition to the NBA Finals very shortly. And obviously, who's in the NBA Finals again, the Golden State Warriors. I could have told you that 8 months ago. 8 months ago, literally 8. A long time ago, I could have told you they're going to the NBA Finals. And that's what makes the difference right now between, and even in football. I could have told you the New England Patriots, as much as I hate them. They're going to go to the championship. It's not like that in hockey. These two teams are really, they're defensive-minded. They stuck to their systems. They've been unbelievable. So basically what it comes down to is that I can't tell you who's going to win. Do I want the Blues? Of course. I'm from New York. I'm supposed to hate Boston. I'm a Jet fan. I hate the Patriots.
Well, it's good that the Yankees beat the Red Sox.
But I am a Celtic fan. I don't know where that comes from.
Yeah, I don't know where that came from.
But I always say I'm a Celtic fan. I don't say I'm a Boston Celtic fan. I always say I'm a Celtic fan. I just love the organization. They know how to win. I mean, how can you root for the New York Knicks these days? And, I mean, we'll transition to the NBA.
And that killed me that we didn't do a show around then when they had the draft lottery. Oh, my God, that would have been amazing.
I felt bad for so many of my friends. I mean, there were people out there that are sitting there going, in the matter of 2 days, the Jets GM's getting fired. The Knicks aren't getting the number one overall. It's like, what's happening in the world? What's happening now?
It was so great.
What's going on right now?
So great because everybody was like, oh, yeah, we're gonna get Zion. Then we're going to get Durant, we're going to get Kyrie. It doesn't even look like we're going to get anybody now. It's hilarious. It is hilarious, the stuff that happens to the Knicks. But NBA Finals, we've gotten through Game 1. Now we have to wait 3 weeks for Game 2, because we have like 5 days in between, which is absolutely ridiculous. I don't understand what's the difference. You're in the same city. You're not moving. It's not a travel day. And even in hockey, you only get one travel day. So, I mean, why do we have, I think the first game of the finals was Thursday? Now we got to wait till Sunday for Game 2? They haven't left Toronto yet. I mean, like, seriously. The main thing that I wanted to talk about this, Toronto won, the first game by 9 points, whatever. Warriors is still going to win it, so let's be serious. You had a cool stat that you wanted to say on the air. Flip it out.
Oh, I'm sorry.
With the Toronto Raptors.
Oh, yeah. It's funny. You put me on the spot there. I'm like, what stat is this? No, it's just incredible to watch that the Toronto Raptors, they're one of the first teams, well, they are the first team to ever make the NBA Finals without a single lottery pick on their roster, which is pretty incredible. And it just shows that, if you can get the right draft picks in the NBA, and get the right players at the right time. Obviously, Kawhi Leonard, was a great steal for the Spurs years back, and he has been one hell of a player. I mean, what I've seen him doing, and people comparing him to Jordan, and everyone wants to laugh at that, but I'm telling you, this man has been unbelievable, even though I did watch the game the other night. And the problem with the NBA has always been inconsistency between the referee, and obviously Toronto won Game 1, but it was clearly a referee favorite towards Toronto in that game, and there was just no doubt. I mean, I watched a couple minutes. I didn't even watch a full game, so I can't even give you a full, complete 100% on that. But I watched like a good segment of about 5 minutes, and I watched Kawhi Leonard spin right into Steph Curry, and Steph Curry did not move. He was squared to the basket, outside the circle, and it was a clear offensive foul. And they just didn't call it. They gave him an N1, which is a big play. We're talking 0 points to 3 because Kawhi Leonard is a very good free throw shooter. Nailed the 3-point play, got the extra free throw, everything. But it was an offensive foul. I mean, I've been watching basketball for a very long time, and then I watched the ball go right down the court, and I think it was Draymond Green had drive the lane, and Kyle Lowry stepped in, and that was an offensive foul too. But I watched the same exact thing happen and you didn't give the call to Draymond Green,
Yeah.
but you gave the call to Kawhi Leonard. And I understand he's a talent. I know how the NBA works. Okay, they don't want their talented players to be fouling out because there goes the ratings, and that's how the world works now. And I understand that. But that was a big problem in Game 1. It's a big reason why the Toronto Raptors won. Because just from watching 5 minutes of the game, I mean, I watched more than 5 minutes. I watched the good 3/4 of that game. But if people understand what I'm talking about here, it was in the matter of a 2-minute part of I think it might have been the second quarter or the third quarter, and I just watched 2 offensive fouls occur, which is credit to the defense. That's amazing. We just talked about in hockey how important defense is, and both players, Steph Curry and Kyle Lowry, did a great job at risking their body and taking the contact. But you cannot sit there and give the credit to one player and not the other. I didn't watch either player move. Now, I understand a block, and I know that's very hard for a referee to manage, a block and an offensive foul. But you're supposed to call a block if a guy is still moving when he's trying to get position, to almost cut in front of somebody. So when I don't see either player moving and they got squarely hit, you need to be consistent with the refereeing, and that's been a big issue in the NBA, going all the way back to that that garbage between that referee that was gambling on games and everything else. And it's a very tough sport to referee. There's no doubt. At one point, I'm hoping to do it myself. But it is a very difficult sport to referee, and I'm never going to critique it on the basis of that. I know players and fans can't really, or fans can do it all they want, but players and coaches and everything cannot talk about the refereeing. And but just from what I saw in a short segment, I mean, you got to be consistent. If a player is going to do something that is correct, you need to give them the call for it. I could not believe the offensive foul that was just not called on Kawhi Leonard, and I understand Kawhi Leonard's a great player. He really is almost like Jordan. Great defender. I'm not going to give anything away from Kawhi Leonard. Great three-point shooter. Great defender. People forget about defense in the NBA with all these high-scoring games these days and all these big-time three-point shooters and Steph Curry being able to drive the lane and do a floater because, God forbid, he gets fouled too hard, and it's a big problem. And even Draymond Green has come out and said about his own kid, telling him not to watch the NBA because of flopping and, just the way the NBA has turned. And it isn't for the positive. I don't care what anyone says. You could sit there and say that the NBA is better than ever. It really isn't. I could have told you months back who was going to make the NBA Finals. Toronto, a little bit of a shocker. I really thought Milwaukee was going to take that series. So, especially with Toronto not having a single lottery pick, it really is exciting on that standpoint. Toronto's got their first NBA Finals win ever, which is also very exciting. But, again, I'll come back on the show if Toronto wins the NBA Finals, and I'll put my foot in my mouth. But there's no doubt in my mind that the Golden State Warriors will win the series. I mean, and that's what NBA has turned into.
Well, we got Game 3 of the Stanley Cup Finals tonight. We got Game 2 of the NBA Finals on Sunday. And, the one thing that I wanted to talk about with the NBA Finals was Drake. That he's been a topic of conversation.
Why?
But,
I feel like everybody else is doing it.
No,
already.
I understand. But what I want to talk about is, on this show a couple of months ago, we were talking about Russell Westbrook. Russell Westbrook getting into it with a fan. A kid punches him or whatever it was. Okay? And there was a problem with that. But now what you're doing, you're showing Drake touching the coach, talking to the players on the court, this and that. You're setting a precedent that these people that paid enough to be courtside are allowed to do that. And I think this is a problem. And everybody's like, "Oh yeah, well Spike Lee used to do it." Yeah, well that's a problem too. These guys on the sidelines,
back when the Knicks used to make the playoffs.
Yeah, I know. But, it's just, and I heard that the NBA spoke to Drake about his antics on the sidelines. So, that's going to change a little bit. But still, you're showing the wrong precedent because, you have these players that are saying, yeah, you know what, they're fans for a reason. They're in the stands for a reason. There's this, that, and you know what? Having Drake, just because he's a rapper and R&B singer, whatever you want to call him, I still call him from a Disney show, Degrassi or whatever it was. because I feel like you can't act like a gangster if you're on that show. Let's be serious. But overall, and your name is Aubrey.
What does that even mean to act? I'm like confused by what that even means to act gangster. I don't even know what that even means.
Just rapping and all that stuff. But that's not here nor there. That's not here nor there.
Oh, all right. Okay.
What I'm saying is
it's crazy.
I just feel like it's the wrong precedent that you're showing for fans that have courtside seats. So that was just my rant on that. Moving on to fans also in baseball, we had a little girl get hit by a foul ball by Almora in the Cubs-Astros game. Very sad, and it definitely hit Almora pretty hard. He was visibly upset, crying between innings. He also said that he wants to create a relationship with this family for the rest of his life. But there's also talks of now moving the netting all the way to the foul pole. And I have a problem with that. I have a problem with the netting going past the dugout now, but that's not here nor there. I feel like if you're paying that kind of money to sit down there, you want the full environment. You want the full, what's the word I'm looking for? Like the full experience of being at a baseball game. The chance to catch a foul ball. The chance of being, part of play.
Don't hide about what I said to you before. I mean,
no,
there's
I know.
no doubt
And
about what's happening in baseball. I mean, the crowds aren't as packed anymore. People don't want to go to these games anymore in certain
Nobody
cities.
also wants to look through and
I'm saying all
net.
that's going to do is continue to downgrade the amount of people going to these games,
or at least paying for the high price seats.
Exactly.
Because now what's the point of getting
$500
field seats?
No reason.
If there's no chance of you getting a foul ball or whatnot.
Not just that, but
listen,
you can barely see the game.
My thing is, the risk going to a baseball game. There's broken bats, there's baseballs, everything that's hit into the stands. And every seat now in every stadium has look out for bats and balls in the stands. Every single seat has it. Okay? And there's always that, that law, that they live by. The fan knows the risk going to a baseball game.
Mm-hmm.
Now, my thing is, if you have a little girl or a little boy at that age that she was, and she was no more than 5, you should not be getting those kind of seats. You should not. A little kid like that, first of all, will have a ball no matter where they're sitting. They could be sitting all the way up there because I guarantee you they're not going to watch any part of that game. Okay, they're just going to eat the ice cream, eat the cotton candy, anything that comes around, hot dog, whatever. That's what a kid's going to do.
Dippin' Dots.
Yeah,
man. I'm sorry.
Dude, they took him out of Yankee Stadium. No more Dippin' Dots.
That's
in
why
Yankee
I
Stadium.
don't go.
It's yeah. Again, that's not here nor there. But
oh yeah, that's why. That's why you don't go.
My
to the
thing
game.
is, it's just like, don't have your kid down there. And I'm not blaming it on this guy. I'm not, blaming it on the fan or not. But it's like, obviously you weren't paying attention either that she got hit like that. So overall, just if you have a little kid, either don't bring them or don't put them that low in, because first of all, you're still paying for their seat.
No,
it's not like
that's not really where we should go with that. I mean, I think this is a game for everybody.
No, and listen, I am fine with. My first game
happen. These things
my first
happen.
game. I was
you just gotta
3
try
years
to do
old.
your best to prevent it. Yeah,
I was 3 years old when I first went. But you also got to think, you're still spending $500 on that seat that she's not even going to sit in. That's the issue, and you're putting her in more of a dangerous position. Go up the second deck, sit up there.
There's really no protecting it.
There's no protecting it, but you're not going to get hit hard in the second deck. You're not going to get hit hard in the third deck.
Baseball's not going up; it's going down. I'm telling you.
So
little by little, you're going to see
another. One more thing before we get out of here. Did you hear about the injury to Carlos Correa of the Houston Astros?
No.
He broke a rib, okay, and he's out 4 to 6 weeks. But what if I tell you it wasn't baseball related?
What did he do?
Getting a massage.
He broke a rib getting a massage. Wow.
The masseuse broke his rib giving him a massage.
That sucks.
Yeah. First of all, if she or he has that strong of hands, maybe you should move on to another masseuse.
Go be a linebacker or something.
Yeah, that's insane to me. But hey, Yankees first place, just beat the Red Sox last night. They got the Red Sox again tonight. You know, for the 17 guys that they had on the injured list, they're still in first place. It's unreal. I mean, the guys, the quality and the talent that they do have on the injured list, you know, whether it be Severino, Betances, Stanton, Judge, all of these guys. The fact that these guys are on the injured list and they're still, the Yankees still have the second or third best record in the league is unreal. It's unreal. And, you know, it's exciting times to be a Yankee fan, exciting times to, you know, for the Yankees overall.
Shocker.
So, yeah, no.
Shocker in baseball that the Yankees are winning.
So, before we get out of here, again, this is one of the T-shirts. You know, at the end, I say be breezy. So, I got that on a T-shirt. We got K&J play-by-play. That is going to happen soon. I promise. You know, we've been promising it for a while. We just haven't gotten the chance to get into the Beat Laboratory here during the week in a little while because someone, you know, has to feel like they're, you know, beach volleyball, you know, king over here. So
at least I'm not getting absolutely mollywopped on a football field. I mean, come on.
I don't do that.
And I'm still finding ways to get hurt.
I don't get mollywopped. But yeah, so go to our Instagram. The link is in the bio for the T-shirts. They're cheap. They're $20. So everybody should go out and get one. He's got a K&J play-by-play T-shirt that I got to give him now. I forgot I have it on my door. So
it.
I just got this hat.
Oh,
I don't know if you know, if we're gonna sell more of these. I have to decide. But if I do, then I'll send you guys the link for that. But overall, yeah, go because the percentage of what we get here from the T-shirts, we get to put into this show. So we would really appreciate, you know, we're not Rockefeller over here. We don't have a crazy amount of money, so it's not like, you know, I'm also paying for a wedding. So, you know, there's that. But overall, that was a great show. We're back. We're back, and hopefully it will continue for the coming weeks. We might move we might be doing one time a week, unless there's rain. Then we could maybe set something up for, you know, the podcast. But we might be moving it to Mondays for the time being. We'll let you guys know. Follow us on Instagram at RUTS Sports. Follow us on Twitter at RUTS Sports. Follow us on Sportscaster at RUTS Sports. We apologize to Sportscaster for not being able to put out content for, you know, the last 3 weeks or whatever it was. You know, they're moving up, Sportscaster. We're happy for them, and hopefully we can move up with them. But that will do it for today's show. Another great one. We'll be back maybe Monday, so we'll let you know. Follow us on all our social medias, and you will find out. But that will do it. I'm Jerry.
I'm Kevin.
Be breezy.
Be breezy.
And it is all over! You've been listening to Running Up the Score. We run up the score on Sports Radio. For more Running Up the Score, go follow the show on Twitter and Instagram at RUTS Sports.